Okay, we've been working on turn and place animations. We have our basic function to do all the data, and last episode we went ahead and got a lot of the anim graphs set up. Now we have to go into the animations themselves and add some curves to them. So let's go ahead and we'll start. We're on our anim graph. Let's go ahead and get to our animation. We're going to start with a turn left 90. Click over here. If yours looks a little different, that's fine. I'm using 4.26. You'll just kind of have to fiddle around until you can find the same knobs, but they're all still there. Let's go ahead and add a curve. Let's do create curve. Okay, and we got to remember what we called it in our function. So I think it was distance curve. Okay. Edit our curve. Let's add some keys to it. Add another key in here, about there. And then add another key somewhere over here. Okay, and let's set the values of these keys if I can actually select it. Cool. So the first value, and I'm going to go over and transition into my notes. It's going to be -0 and -45. And then the next one is going to be 0.35 and -22. We can see kind of what our curve's doing here. And on the old one, there was a nice little button here to straighten all this out. And since this is actually my very first time looking at this, I don't see it. No matter, we can still work around that. Click on the last element to the curve. Its values are going to be 0.7, which we just happened to get right, and 0, I believe. So I should be able to click all these curves now. Zoom out. Right click on the middle, do auto. That should give me a little curve. I'm going to pause here just a second. Okay, so I paused for a second because I couldn't figure out how to view these things properly since that was the first time I'm using this version of the engine. Anyway, basically I came over here and I just started clicking this stuff. This is sometimes what you got to do when you get a new engine version and you don't know, they move stuff around, you got to kind of click around. So you're going to be seeing things different. On the old version, there was a little checkbox you clicked first, and then there were these little, let's see, I got the engine right in front of me. Help you guys out a little bit. Here, I'll bring this one over. This is what I'm looking from. You'll have something like this, and you click these little guys, and it does its best to try to get stuff in order, but I never really liked that feature. Anyway, this actually looks better. It looks like yet another improvement. So you come over here, and then you'll see your curved. So basically, we just last clicked clicked on this. Then a little bar, and you can adjust the steepness of this curve. But we're just trying to get a nice little curve going on, so we could do something like that. And that'll give it a lot more natural of a value. And so these are the values that are going to be spitting out as they go along. So let's save that. Okay, so now we're going to add another data member to this. We'll call it turning. Okay, after that, go ahead and save. Never mind. Let's go to back to the anim graph. We did turn L. Let's go do our turn R. So our right turn. Okay. Let's add our curve track in there. Add our keys. And then we're going to set the values of those keys. So at 0, it's going to be negative 45. The second key, 0.35 at negative 22. And then our third key will be at 0.7 at 0. Okay, to get these to do the curve you want it to do, you have to select all of them like we did before. I always mess this up. Right click, auto, deselect, then select that one. And you should start getting the curve values that you want. There we go. Save that. Go ahead and add another curve turning. Convert it to metadata. Okay, so I had to stop the video a little bit to just get used to this new animation system. It's a little weird. Basically, I wanted to confirm that this dotted line is metadata, is how I wanted it, and previously it just looked so different in the other editor. This is a good thing. You just got to get used to the new editor versions come out over and over and over again. So anyway, yeah. So we made our distance curve. And I think I could, double click on it, and you can use this to view it. This is all new, and you can see how it goes. You can pop back with that. So make sure both left and right loops look like this, or that one is. And actually, I almost want to bring over the other screen for you and show you what it used to look like, which you saw it briefly, but I'm going to go ahead and bring it over so that way we can compare and contrast old versions and new versions. And I don't want anybody getting confused and hung up on this spot because it can be a little bit critical. So basically, I am opening up another project and I am comparing it between old versions of the engine and new versions of the engine so that you guys are all set and you won't run into the same confusion I did. Okay. Here we go. Here's the old version of the engine. And so B is turning will look like this. You can click this little eye right here. It'll drop this out. Okay, so that way everybody's on the same page and nobody's confused. That's what it should look like. And yours will say turning, not B is turning, and this will be distance curve, which is the same. Just different from the scratch project I did before doing this project. Okay, now that we have that complicated part figured out, we got our curves in there. I got to do a couple fixes on things. So let's go all the way to the top of our anim graph here. And this was something else I noticed that was a little bit different. Make sure you don't have, I might have had interp results selected here and changed these to 20. Well, I probably did that on the pitch. I should probably not have that. We don't want that on the pitch. We want it on the yaw, since that's what we're actually affecting. So make sure, select on your rotate root bone. You have yaw scale right here, and then select on here, and then these are changed to 20 down here. So we can minimize that. It's really easy to get that confused, so make sure you're good there. Let's do a little status check to kind of see where we're at and do any debugging as mentioned, because when you're dealing with something this complex, you're going to have bugs. You're going to do tons of mistakes. It's hard enough just to make a video. But so I'm going in here. Right now I'm just playing as the server, just kind of getting an eyeball of what's going on. Okay, so I can turn when I reach certain yaws, but I'm noticing my character, he's not actually turning. He's just kind of doing the animation as he was before. So let's see if we can go ahead and debug and see what's going on there. So we go into our event graph, and on the very first video, we did our turn in place, and we did a bunch of stuff. So I take this distance curve, and let me back out to show you where I'm at. So we went along here, and there were several times we took a ABS, and I did it one too many times. Okay, when you're going to set your distance curve difference, you don't need the absolute value. So take that out. You don't need it. You just need the absolute value between when you're getting your ABS root yaw offset. Now, let's go ahead and compile and save and see what that did for us. Okay, as you can see, the character actually moves when you hit that turn now. And that is our curve driving that movement. It's actually rotating. So basically, we're saying right here, when the yaw gets to 45 degrees, kick off this animation. And what the animation does is it spits out a curve value between, negative 45 and 0. And then it adds that value into here, and it will move our character. So that's how our character actually moves. He moves from the curve. It's a little bit complicated, easy to make mistakes, but we got there. That's the most important thing. Now, we want to get that upper body moving with it. So what we need to do, oops, didn't mean to leave out of there. Go to our anim graph and get to this top level again. Let me do this over here on my notes so that way I'm all squared away. Okay, so to do this, to get this top level to move, we're going to need what's called an aim offset. Now, if you don't know what an aim offset is, go ahead and you can pause the video, and there's about 1 million different videos you can look up on how to make an aim offset. We did a blend space, which is very similar to an aim offset. An Anim Set Pro comes with an aim offset, but basically they're just, so if you go into Rifle Anim Set Pro, once again, you do not need these animations, but they speed up things a little bit. There's this one called Rifle Stand Aim. Now, if you were with me and you have the project, you might have to retarget it to your skeleton, which I have already done. It'll prompt you. You just pick the UE4 skeleton like we did before when we were retargeting our other animations. And an aim offset is basically these still animations, and the offset blends it together just like a blend space. Only this is just for aim offsets. Okay, and if you can look, for anybody who doesn't have Rifle Anim Set Pro, I'm going to hover over these so you can see them, but we're not going to go through making it. Like I said, there's 1 million videos on it. So this one's aim right up, which makes sense. You can see it on the graph. This one's aim right. This one's aim right down. This one's aim down. Aim left down. Aim left. Aim left up. Aim up. And aim center. These axis values, horizontal angle, negative 90 and 90, 4 grid divisions, 0 interp time, we might adjust that. Negative 90, 90, 4, 0 interp time, we might adjust that. Usually on vertical, you want it pretty sharp. The interp time laterally, sometimes it feels better to have a little bit of lag, and you'll see why here in a minute. And we have this set at 0. We might adjust that later. So those would be our knobs we would want to change. But it's just a standard blend space. Nothing fancy here. So let's move on. So what we want to do is get that blend space into here. Okay? And right now we don't have our vertical angle, which is the pitch. We have the horizontal angle. And how we're going to get that is we're going to take our root yaw offset, and we're going to multiply it by -1. And you can do all sorts of fancy stuff as to how you set up these this whole anim graph for your custom solution, but this is going to give you a great start on where to be. So we just plug this in right here. Let's see where this got us. See if this has us working right. And so, there we go. Okay, look at that. That's beautiful. And see, so we have this little bit of play here, 45 degrees on each side before he turns. And when he turns, his body actually moves. And what's really happening here, well, before we get into what's happening, let's look at let's look at this replication. So let's get at least 2 players in here, and let's make sure they're clients. And let's see how this replicates, because that's very important. That's the whole reason we're doing all this stuff, is to make sure it's multiplayer compliant. Anybody can do single player stuff. Okay. Okay. So looking at the screen at the left, you can see, he can tell when he has his little bit of movement here. And then when he turns, bam, it's perfect. So the only other version of when I saw somebody do this, it wouldn't keep up when you just quickly whipped around. As you can see, it doesn't matter how high my mouse sensitivity is, this will keep up. And that's about as good as I've seen as far as you'll notice a little jerkiness. Those knobs I was telling you about, you can smoothen those out and make it all pretty. The only thing that's missing from this is our pitch. So let's go ahead and get that in there and wrap this thing up. Okay, so the pitch is very, very easy. We go into our event graph. So we have our turn in place function. Basically what we want to do is get our base aim rotation. Okay, this is always fun. Let's see if this... There it is. And I broke my own rule. You should always do something like this to make sure that the user knows, or somebody else looking at your stuff knows you don't have two different objects going on here. Okay, so you have your base. You want to get the delta rotator of that. And then you want to get your actor's rotation. You gotta be kidding me. All right, put that in there like that. Get that right there like that. Split this struct pin. We want our pitch. Promote that to a variable, call it pitch. Okay, and then let's go back up to our anim graph and take that pitch value that we just made and shove it in there. Look at that. Perfect. So it's replicated. You can see pitch. You can see pitch from both the user. You can see pitch and yaw. And you can smoothen out some of this jerkiness. Well, number one, you won't be using my lousy graphics card that's interfering with everything. And yeah, it's perfectly smooth. You're not going to have any weird hitches. And we didn't even test falling, so let's do that. Okay, he seems to go into his animations properly. But yeah, so this took me like forever to figure out. You'll notice even on some of the animation sets on the marketplace, they're taking like they're actually trying to set the character's rotation, and that's no good. That's not what you want to do. You're going to get out of sync. If you're trying to set active rotation on client and on the server, and you're trying to do turn in place that way, you're going to run into all sorts of problems. And I'm no animation guru at all, so I'm sure somebody out there has a better way of doing it. I just haven't heard of it. So let's, just to give you a better idea of exactly what's happening, let's set the visibility on this. Visible in game, maybe. Let's try hidden. Okay, so it's set to hidden in game, so let's turn it off so we can actually see it. And this is a good way to debug things, so you can tell, you know, especially if you're having collision issues, you know, what might be hitting your collision. So as you can see, the capsule is always moving. It's actually the legs that are standing still. So with people that will do like a set actor rotation, they will only have the capsule will stay still, but they'll have the upper body moving with their aim offset. And then what they'll try to do is they'll try to go, okay, get the capsule and the legs to rotate to the amount that you're off, and that is no good because Unreal already has rotations. This is already replicated when you have the yaw checkbox selected. So you're doing a lot of waste when you're doing all those set actor rotation calls. It's better to use what's already been given to you within the engine, and you will actually have proper aim offsets and turn in place. And so this turn in place, you really, the clients may get slightly out of sync, but not near as out of sync as it will be if it's a set actor rotation sort of thing. And either way, it corrects itself, as you can see, no matter what you do. And you're not going to have any weird RPC call jitter. So, guys, let me know if you have any problems. I did have to stop the video a couple times to debug that one ABS thing and the thing that was setting the root bone. So if you guys have any problems with that, I can break this back open and show you any things that might have gotten missed with editing. But I think we should be good to go, and you should have perfect turn in place and movement. And yeah, so it was painful. You got to see me struggle through the engine, brand new engine, trying to figure out how that works because this is 4.26. And so that's always good to get to see somebody else struggle. And yeah, guys, let me know what you think. Give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys on the next one.